Welcome back to part 3 of this full-length tutorial on how to use pouring and swiping techniques to create a landscape. This is Kristen from Christopia Studios. For those of you who still have wet paintings and are following along, this is part 3 and the final part of this particular tutorial. So far we've created the sky, the mountains, and the background using tools such as plastic spoons, a popsicle stick, and a chopstick. Some people are kind of intimidated by using a paintbrush. Plus, these tools give us different results than a paintbrush would give us anyway. In part 3, I'm going to be showing you how to put in a little birch forest into your landscape. I'm also going to be teaching you a lesson in creating depth in your painting. We've already done a little bit of that by putting that little forest line up against the mountains, but in this particular section, we're going to be doing a heck of a lot more training about how to create depth in your painting. So let's get started. So what kind of trees do I want? I think because it is so dark down here, I think I'm going to put in some birch trees, just like in my happy accident a little while back. So one of the things that I do for things like that, for birch trees, etc., since I'm painting wet on wet, is I use this. I used to have these postcards, Christopia Studios postcards that a friend of mine got for me, but they have all the wrong information on the back. It's been several years. Doesn't have any of the right places and things that I used to do. So, and I put them on my camera stand, which was dumb because now I'm going to wiggle it. So I'm going to wiggle for a second while I take those off. What I'm going to use is these to swipe my birch trees up into the forest. And we're going to have a little lesson in perspective. And I'm also going to sit down because my back hurts and I'm tired of standing up. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. I have my white here. I do have black too, and birch trees, you know, are white, grayscale, kind of black, and sometimes have a little brown, but I'm just going to concern myself with the white right now because there's so much black in the background. Now, I've already poured that, but it looks a little thick. So I'm going to add just a little dropper full of water. And one of the things you want to know where perspective is concerned is that, as I said before, the further back things are, the higher up they are on the canvas, and the darker they are. So the first birch trees I'm going to paint are going to be background trees, okay? I might put a big one up front first. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I might put a big one right here along the side because I don't really want to cover too much of this side of the mountain range because I think it's cool looking. So first I want to decide where I want my larger birch trees. So I think that I'm going to put the larger ones are obviously wider, lower down toward the bottom of the canvas, and brighter. I'm not going to worry about where my light is coming from in this painting right now because I can do that later after it's dried to put any embellishments on it I want. So this is going to be a big old tree because I am starting it right at the bottom. In fact, I'm going to let it run off the bottom as if whoever took this picture was almost next to that tree. And I'm going to take my postcard on the wide end. I'll turn it over. Maybe I'll turn it this way because it's cool looking. There's a paintbrush on my picture. Okay, and I'm just going to sit it down in here and I'm going to drag it up. Awesome. Now, I'm going to do it again because I personally think there's a little too much black still in that. Oops. Little cardboard pieces over here. So I'm not getting paint on. I'm going to put some more white down here and swipe up one more time. Don't worry about that little messy looking thing that goes down through the picture. I can fix that. In fact, let me get my little chopstick. And just muddy that back out of there. Nope. See there? If you have something that's no bueno, just, fix it. All right. I'm going to swipe one more time with a little less pressure because I want to get more white over there. So I'm going to go up one more time. Woo! Man, that's just trying really hard to stay gray. That's all right. I'll use a smaller swipe. Get some white back in there. See, still no brushes, nothing intimidating, just playing around. Now, I would like to talk for a second while I'm painting this tree about copyright. I love to teach, and therefore I want to teach people technique. Most artists online want to teach people technique. However, there's still artists that sell their art, and the creator of the first piece of art in this style or this technique is the copyright owner of that particular piece. So while you can take the technique you've learned and go make your own composition, if you make your composition exactly like the person you've learned it from, you're violating copyright, and you're also keeping that person from having an original work and being able to sell that, because people can say, oh, well, I've seen that before. That's not real. That's not original, when for them it was. So just something to think about when you're copying technique from people. Make sure you're not putting your, for example, in this painting, you're not putting your trees in exactly the same place, and you're not putting your mountains exactly the same. Don't trace it, okay? Now, there will be a time in the future when I offer traceables to people who subscribe to my Patreon page. I haven't started that yet because I don't have enough video footage or traceables to make it worth someone's while to be my patron. So for now, I'm teaching these basic techniques as I do them real time here on YouTube, because I enjoy teaching and because I enjoy doing the art and talking with the community of people. So please feel free to share this with your friends. Feel free to utilize the techniques I'm using. Just please remember, for all artwork that you do and that you have fun with and that you enjoy doing bits and pieces. Notice that one's much narrower. But do remember that when you do art in that way, that you don't completely copy what they're doing. Now this back one is narrower, not as narrow as I would like, but narrower because it's smaller. So honestly, I'm going to get rid of some of that because it's not as narrow as I wanted. And then I'm going to go up. Into the ether, into the sphere. Put a little white on that piece of cardboard. I didn't really want something that tall right there, but that's all right. I'm going to get my smaller swipey thing. Now, these ones that are further back, you want a little darker. I can fix this later. You know, it's too dark for foreground, but I can always add a little white later. I'll teach you how to do a wash once this is dry. That really is a fun thing to do. It's like you're whitewashing a house, but instead you're whitewashing painting. All right. So this one, if you look at the perspective, is much further back. It's back there, and so it's narrower, it's smaller, and it starts much higher up on the screen. Now, or on the screen, on the canvas. Now, I want to decide where I want my back there trees, though I have to say this tree looks a little too big to start that far back, so I think I'm going to bring it back down a little further down here, because that brings it a little more into the foreground. It's a little too thick to be back there. That's a little better. It's a little closer. Okay. Now, if I want something back here, tinier, maybe there's a little tiny stand of birch trees right in there. But I'm going to use something really small, narrow, to draw them up. No, not that. I'm just going to cut my postcard till it's more narrow, because it's still nice and pliable. It's much smaller. That one's closer, but it's smaller. Maybe it's just a smaller tree. A little happy small tree. Uh-oh, I went into the voice that talks to my dog. His name is Pocket. He's a little Havanese and he's a love bug. All right. So I have a few back over here. Now I don't want the same pattern of trees over this way. I do want at least one more tree that's big enough to go up high and that's in the foreground enough to be that close, but I don't want a bunch. You know what I'm saying? I want to keep that bit of sky over there clear. So I think I'm going to have a mid-sized tree come up right about here. And that we're going to put right about here. Not quite as wide as the other. It's like someone took a chunk out of it over there. Making it a little more organic down here at the bottom. I'm going to do that with these others as well. They're not just stubs sticking out of the ground. They have a little root structure. Just put a little skirt on them. There you go. My stomach's growling again. Why is it always that I don't get started painting until it's almost time for dinner? And then I growl at you. Too gray in there. Now, have you kind of noticed how the cells themselves kind of lend to that birchy feeling, that mottled trunk feel? So when I do the final, if you're following along, you don't have to do that if you don't want to, if you're not comfortable doing that. Your landscape will look just as good without adding too much. I'm just one of those people that tends to play until I shouldn't be playing anymore. All right. Maybe I should use my spoon to pour in a little more white. Get out of my clouds. Hey, you, get off of my cloud. I hope you can hear me. I sat down and I really need to get a different chair to sit in when I'm doing my art. It makes these noises that are not polite at all. Between my stomach growling and my chair farting, it's just not a good look. Okay. Now I think I'm going to put a couple more small right back in here. And again, they're going to be very small because I don't want to mar. I don't want so many that the mountain range is marred, you know? Get my little narrow one. This one kind of lives close to this one, but further back, so that's okay. Now I'm going to take my chopstick and maybe put in the illusion of a branch or two. Don't take all your branches out from the same side of your tree. You want to keep them kind of organic and moving like a tree limb does. The first birch tree painting I did, if you look back in my videos, you'll kind of see my flip cup pour turned birch tree. My mom liked so much that she didn't want me to sell it out the family, so she bought it from me. She did get the family discount, by the way. Don't think I made my mother pay full retail. Though she'd have been willing to pay full retail. This tree over here is so large, the branches would start up there because you're standing under it, just about in the frame of reference. So I'm not worrying about branches there. This one might have the beginning of something coming off there, but I don't want it, again, to spend too much time marring the sky. So we're just going to have the illusion of branches. And just one, I think, just that one. Now I'm going to put a little bit of black. I'm wiping my chopstick as I do every single thing I'm doing, so I don't mess up my paint. There. See, that just kind of blends into the sky. There's blue in it. Looks nice. I'm going to do something similar over here. This tree. Maybe we're reaching a different direction. Alright, wiping it off before I dip into the black. Notice how few colors it takes to make a painting this, I don't know, intricate looking. It doesn't look like I've used blue, blue, and white in the sky. That's all. I've used green, copper, and gold and black in the landscape, and I've used white and black in the trees. That's it. It doesn't take a giant palette of colors to do a landscape like this. Now, there might be other projects that require more color, and I might put more color in the foreground when I'm painting maybe a few extra leaves and stuff. Again, I will be using a brush to do that, but I will try to do it in a non-intimidating manner for those of you who would like to give it a try. Let's see. Oh, I wanted to give attribution. I got this idea. I did not copy their designs, and that's why I was talking about copyright earlier. Several months ago, maybe even a little more than a year ago, some sisters online, gosh, what are their names? Carol, Susan, and Diane were doing some birch tree swipes. The very first one I saw, I think, was Susan, and I'll try to put her link down below. I subscribe to her channel. But hey, they're Canadian sisters named Carol, Susan, and Diane. You can probably figure it out. I saw Susan playing around and sweeping up with birch tree look one day, and I thought, that is an awesome way to create a landscape. And eventually she went on to do a different kind of painting in birch trees, like design. And those were really pretty too, but this is my, hers was my inspiration to do these landscapes. Okay, let's see. What do I want to do? I think I've got enough trees in there that I'm happy with that. Do you guys think I probably should do something with this foreground, just especially for those people who don't want to do additional things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my green, drizzle a little green in here. Maybe, but mostly in the foreground. Now just remember, when you do swiping, don't mess up your trees swiping across them. Stay down, stay away. I'm going to do a little neon green down here. Because if you noticed, sometimes those bushes that are getting ready to go toward fall look a little neon green, yellow green. Tiny bit back there. All right. Now I'm just going to use my little palette knife. To give it a little landscape look. I think there's probably not enough over here. This is severe foreground, so we need a little more. I hope my silicone hasn't settled too much in my little jars. Didn't realize I've been spending, oh my gosh, 50 minutes. You guys are going to have to spend an hour with me for this painting because it's going up real time. I'm not going to speed paint this one. I want the people who are interested to be able to learn a little of the technique and not just see it sped up. All right. I think I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. I hope you really enjoy this video. Let me turn it up. Maybe I should take it off and bring it down. Sorry for the shake. So you can see some of that close-up stuff. Look at that sky. Isn't that awesome? And that's just a little bit of light blue, dark blue, and white. It looks kind of lavender there. But this is cell structure in those trees, which makes for a really cool birch tree. Might try a walnut tree in the future, I don't know, but I'll need a lighter background so it'll show up. But these the little neon green kind of help to make a little foreground. Now I'm going to come back in here a couple days from now after this is dried, and we're going to put a little more detail in because I just like to do that kind of detail. And I'm going to use a brush, but I'm going to keep it simple so anybody who wants to try to follow along can feel free to follow along. But otherwise, if you followed along with this and do your own version of this kind of landscape, just using sticks and spoons and knives and paint, go for it because it looks really cool. I hope you have a great day. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button down below. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more, and hit that little bell to notify you when the next video's up. I hope you have a great day. You know what? I forgot something. Also, if you look down below this video, there are links. You can find my Facebook page, you can find my regular website page, and there's even a little donation button that you can donate to my PayPal if you feel so inclined. I'm obviously not asking for it, but that helps me to keep bringing more videos to your attention. Now, I hope you have a great day.